Okay, let's do this. I'm going to go and talk about the Vectorworks Orbit tool that you may or may not know can help you with your presentations. Got some tips and tricks to show you that may help you out in using it. As you can see here, here's a model of our stage we've been working with, and I dropped in a front of house position.
Okay, can you just get started with... Mate, could you stop? Oh, Shreddy Van Halen.
Well, let's say that we need to show all of this in a orbit fashion to our client or our production team so they get a better view of what's going on. Well, it's actually as easy as just and select the items that we want to fly around. Go up to Model, Create Animation, Create Orbit Path. Our Orbit Options box comes up. We're going to key in 360 degrees if that's what we want and hit Selection because these are the items that we have selected. And it calculates the animation. It's going to take just a few seconds. And when I zoom out, you're going to see this ring that it has created right here, all the way around it. And it has these various keyframes. These blue dots here are the keyframes. And it shows on this one that there are usually 13. There we go, 13 keyframes right there. And so you're going to notice what happens in this box is if I hit play, you're going to watch that camera go right on around that animation path. Okay, well, that's not very helpful to us to see. So what we want to do is we want to hit Activate Camera View. And then now we can see our items. And then when we hit play, it's going to calculate the animation, and it's going to go around all of our selected items. Well, that's good and all, but that's pretty large. I don't want to see all of that. Like, let's say that we just want to do an orbit around front of house. So there's a couple ways you can do this. Of course, if you have your view set up to where you can just turn your stage off and then there's front of house. Okay, you can do it that way. Let's go ahead and select it. Model, create animation, create orbit path. (360 degrees from the selected item, calculate the animation, and now our orbit path is just around front of house, whereas before it was around the whole entire project. Again, your keyframes are around this one. So what I want to show you is how to do some manipulation of these keyframes here. So right here is your keyframe advance, forwards and backwards. So if I click this arrow right here, it's going to advance to the next keyframe. And I can go on around and around and around. What that allows you to do is to set up individual settings for each of those keyframes. So the one that we're going to do right now is I'm going to activate the camera and I'm going to show you just front of house. Okay. And we're going to hit play. And there we go, right around front of house. Now remember, we had our stage turned off previously. Just turn it back on. So maybe we want to see the stage in the background for reference. And there it is back there. Okay. Maybe you want to see it, maybe you don't. You can turn it on or off in your layers. For this exercise, we're going to leave it off. Now I'm going to go back to my top plan view. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that stage off. Now, something that you can do with this camera is you see the blue handles, these points. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this center point, and if you click it and hold it, you can see the extension line comes out, and you can aim this camera wherever you like. By the default, all of the views on an orbit path come up focused on the object you select, but maybe you wanted to just look to the side of it or whatever. So that's how you can change the direction of where this camera is pointing. Also a really neat tool I'll show you here. I'm going to activate the camera, and now you can see how far away the front of house is from us right now in this view. Okay, but what if we want to get closer? This is what you're going to do. Deactivate that camera. Let me go back to my top plan view. Got all these views saved here to, saved views here, just to navigate quickly. So you're going to grab this point of your camera, and you can increase your viewing angle or decrease it. So the thing to know is that when you decrease your viewing angle, the camera will get closer to the object in the center of the orbit. So I'm going to go really tight, really close up here, 33 degrees. So you can see how the camera changed its size. So if I activate it, it's really close. And it's a little bit too close. So you got to kind of play around with that number. I've always found that 45 seems to be a number that works. Now you can change it by grabbing the handle here, like I showed you, and you can see the number there. And you can use your tab key to bounce in to the box, and you can hard key in 45, and then it'll stick. So if we look at 45, there we go. So now we're not all up in it. We can see fully around our selected item, but it's not too far away. So it allows us to get closer. And here's another way you can do it. Over here in your object info palette, you got these various sliders here. One of them is speed, and this one here, view angle, 45 degrees. That's the one we want. So if we advance to the next keyframe, see it moved over here clockwise, it got larger. It went back up to 65. 65 is the default. So you could key in the number here as well. Just type in 45 and hit enter, and you see it reduced. Likewise, you can just work your way on around and change. You can change all of these if you like, just one by one, and you can make them larger or you can make them smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change half of them to 45, so you can see that it's a more up close look, like we're talking about. One more to go here. Okay, and the rest of these are 65, 65, 65, 65. So for these, let's really open this up and call this 90. So what's that going to do? You see how large that camera depth of field, or not depth of field, but the view angle got? So we're going to change all of these last ones of the 13 to 90 degrees. Okay. Then what you can do, you can hit activate camera view, and it's going to put it on the screen, or you could hit open camera view in a new pane. It'll still put it on the screen, but it allows you to drag and drop it off to another screen, which is very helpful sometimes because these spaces get cluttered. So there you go. So here's our first frame. Actually, no, that's not. That is our second frame. So what you want to do, if you feel like you're off, go to skip backwards. right there. And that puts you back to 0. So now we're going to start play from this point, and you're going to see what happens. It's going to push into our 45, and then it's going to pull out to the 90. So that was very fast. And that's why, because the duration is 5 seconds. So let's go ahead and change this to 15 seconds. And always hit back, go to the back, that's your number one keyframe, and hit play. Slow it down just a little bit, and you'll see much better. So we're in at 45 tight, and the camera's going to open up to 90 and push away. So that's a couple little tricks there that you can use. And so what I'm going to do, and you can still see that it's shuddering when it's playing, and that will go away when you actually animate that view. And I'll show you that. But in order to animate that view, I'm going to go to my layers and I'm going to turn that stage off because I don't want that stage in the animation. It's just simply too much to be part of the making the movie. So you scroll all the way to the very bottom of the object info palette where it says create movie. And again, it calculates the animation. And here's where you put in the duration in seconds of how long. So, 30 seconds to do a fly through around there at 60 frames per second should be pretty smooth. Of course, you can do it wireframe or shaded, and you can pick all the settings that you want. Of course, turning on your shadows is going to make your renders take a while. I always turn draw edges off. If you have lighting in there, you can turn this on. And again, object reflections, environment reflections, and environment lighting will just increase your render time. And of course, your quality tab on low. So you can set all these to whatever you want. But for this exercise, I'm just going to go to medium and anti-aliasing I turn on with colors and textures, but everything else is off. And the lighting background is up to 72% with ambient occlusion. And I have for my environment lighting background HDRI sky. Now you remember that on that first tab, environment lighting. If you do not have that environment lighting tab checked, your HDRI background will not show up in that rendering. So if you want to use that as your background, make sure you have this checked. So then you hit OK. And again, you can choose high, low, medium quality overall, and you can process it locally on your computer, or you can push it up to the cloud. And that's what I'm going to do on this one so I can keep this tutorial going. I'm going to have this processing in the background on the cloud. And then I can show you a full finished 360 orbit rendered from what we just did. But I want to render it out first, and I'm going to select 1920 by 1080 TP.
All right, could you get the kick, please? Okay, that's cool. Could I get some snare now? Could I get some snare? Could we get the full kit now, please? Where's he gone? For a spliff? Right, bass. Okay, cool. Is that your tone for the full thing? You have a fuzz. Right, give me that. Okay, guitar stage left. Cool, guitar stage right. Could you turn your amp down, please? You're feeding back, mate. Turn your amp down. Okay, how many vocals? All of you. Right, vocal one. I can't take any more of your bullshit! Vocal two. Vocal three. That all he's doing?
All right, the render's complete. And that's truly what happens at front of house most of the time. You can see here in the rendering that we start with the default, and then we push out to 65 degrees wide by changing the keyframes. And then again, we push out to the 90, showing you that by adjusting those keyframes, in your view angle, you can get further or closer away from the object that you are doing the orbit path around. Tool to show you that's fine tuning, if you will. Now let's go back to our orbit path, animation path. We can see our camera, and we know that these blue boxes are our keyframes, and this one is showing 13 of them. Well, let's say that over here on this side of front of house, we want to have a little bit different view. So what you can do is you can go to your keyframe advance your camera to the position that we're talking about right here. So we want to be looking in this direction right there. Once you get your position, you want to hit your activate camera, and it takes you into your camera. Okay, now let's say that we're looking at front of house, but let's say that from this view, we kind of want to see a little bit more of the stage. So what you do when you're in this view with your camera activated is you go to your flyover tool, which is in your visualization palette right here, your walkthrough tool, and then up here, you're going to want to go through your look around, and you click look around. And what you do is you click in your document where you want to look, and you see the cursor there, and you can adjust this camera to wherever you want it to go. So whatever you're wanting to look at specifically. Like maybe we wanted to see more of this. And if you hold down your shift key, you'll see it turns into an arrow. That is so you can hover up and down. Like maybe we want to see top of front of house. Okay, so it goes back into that. You can go up, you can go down, and there's a completely new perspective and view for specifically that camera. And you can change all of your keyframes to whatever height and view that you want to look at. So that's something that you can do as well within the tool that adds a whole nother layer of versatility, allowing you to be able to get the exact views that you want to get. There's a couple tips and tricks for you to use on the Vectorworks Orbit tool to get close-up orbit animations or to get larger animations. We covered your view angle. We covered the aiming tool. We covered elevation and setting up specific views from your keyframes. So I hope this video helped out and you learned some new skills that you can apply when it comes time to do your presentations and share your work with others so they can get a better understanding of what you are trying to show them instead of the whole grand picture. Sometimes that's just not the option you want. You want to just really dial it down. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. That really helps out the algorithm and it'll help this channel to grow. Appreciate your time and appreciate you watching. And stay tuned for more of these videos for Vectorworks 2025.